Hi there, this is Jackie with Jacqueline Penner Art. And today we're going to talk about how to blend acrylic paint. I have 5 tips for you. So it can be very frustrating if you're painting with acrylics and your paint dries on you and it dries so fast. Sometimes you turn around and you thought you were thinking about something and what you were doing and your paint is dry already. And so these tips are going to help you be able to blend paint a little easier. So number 1, it must be wet paint. Your paint can dry on you on your palette, it can dry on your painting, it can dry on your brush, and we want to avoid all of that. I actually have another video about 5 ways to stop your paint from drying too fast, which I'll link below in the comments. But this video, we're going to talk about how to blend your paint specifically. So it must be wet. You can't really go back into your painting and try to blend paint that is partially dry. It's going to be very difficult. So make sure your paint is wet, and that means that, get it out at the same time. Think about it a little bit before you start painting, and that's going to help. So number 2, you want to use enough paint and keep adding paint as you go. So this is the paint I'm going to use today. I just put this on my paper disposable palette here. And, you just want to make sure you try to have enough paint ready to go. That's going to, take more time if you have to stop to get paint out. And keep adding more as you go. On number 3, prime your paintbrush with water. So what that means is you don't want to start with a dry paintbrush. You want to start with a brush that is nice and wet. So it's wet all the way through, not just wet on the tip. It's wet all the way up to the bristles in the ferrule here. So you just do that by dipping it right in your water jar and touching your brush right to the bottom. And that's going to get it nice and wet, and then just dab it off on your paper towel. So it's good and wet, and that's going to help the paint to flow off of your brush, okay? Whereas if you have a dry brush, the paint is not going to want to come off of your brush very easily. So prime your brush with water. Number 4, we can use polymer medium or glazing medium. So what that is this is the one I use. It's made by Try Art, but you can use any brand, and this is just the polymer that is the acrylic paint is made from, and it has no pigment in here. So it looks white in the bottle, but it dries clear, kind of like white glue. And when we add this either to our painting, sometimes I put it right on my canvas as I'm painting, or you can put it in a little section on your palette. My lid doesn't close very good here. Let's see if it might be dried shut on me. So you're just going to use it on your palette just like you would paint. So just make it in a little puddle there. And looks like white paint, but it's clear. So you can mix it with any color, and that's going to help your paint flow a little bit better. Then number 5 is we need to work a little bit quickly. So let's say here, I'm kind of just picturing in my mind, I'm going to paint like the whole paper in a background that's blended. So whatever you were going to do, maybe this could be a sky, it could be a sunset, it could be just a background, however you're going to do it, it doesn't matter. And let's say I'm going to start with this blue right at the top. So I'm going to get that on one side of my brush, one corner, and then I'm going to pick up a little white paint too, because I want these to blend. Now this is a tip for blending, I suppose. Use a wash brush or a nice wide flat brush for the surface that you're using, because if you go to do it with something like this, you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage compared to if you're going to paint with something like this, because this is going to help you blend a lot better, okay? Even a brush this size could work, but a nice big one is going to work better. Okay, so let's get some blue paint going down here. Now, I want to keep working quickly and I don't want this to dry on me. So I'm going to pick up some polymer medium and get that going in there right on my brush. And I'm going to pick up a little more white and a little more blue. And that's what I mean by keep picking up paint. Because now, do you see how this is blending so pretty? And I didn't even mix my paint together, really. Well, there I'm painting on my table. So already we're blending and my brush is moving. And if you need to, use a little mist of water. Water is good. And we keep that wet. We're thinking about keeping that wet. We could even add a little water to our paint if we wanted to make it a little bit thinner. So, okay, we have that. Let's think now. Maybe I'll have a little bit of pink and that'll get me a little bit of a purple going in my sky here. I totally didn't plan what I was going to paint here. It does help if you have a little bit of a plan before you get going, but but I'm just blending paint for the sake of blending paint. Isn't it pretty when those colors blend? Just getting a little more blue and pink, and that's making nice pinks and purples. Okay, and I'm going to keep going here. I'm picking up a little polymer medium to keep this wet as I'm going. And let's put in a little yellow, but I think I'm going to rinse out my brush first because I know if I mix yellow and purple, I might get brown. So I'm rinsing out my brush and I'm going to pick up some polymer medium and some yellow and maybe a little white. So I'll put a yellow area here. And then I'll get some more polymer medium and a little bit of pink because that might give me a kind of a coral color in my sky. And then some white near the bottom. I must have had a little bit of blue in my brush. That looks nice. I'm going to put a little blue right at the bottom here. Almost looks like we have an ocean at the bottom. So there we go. There's a really nice example of blending and how we just keep the paint moving, keep adding more, use more paint. The polymer medium helps, a little water helps, and work kind of quickly. And if you get this far and something you don't quite like it, you know what? Just let it dry and do it again and just adjust. Maybe you don't need to paint the whole thing over again, but say you didn't like this color of orange that you had in here. Just let it dry and paint over it. That's the beauty of acrylic paint. Well, I hope you had fun with that, and I hope you give it a try. And I'll just review for you again the 5 tips for blending acrylic paint. Make sure your paint is wet. Make sure you use enough paint and keep adding paint as you go. Prime your brush with water before you start. Using polymer medium helps, and work fast. Thanks so much. It's Jackie Penner with Jacqueline Penner Art. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.